and it works really good. It's one of my favorite strategies that I feel like not many people are doing. And I'm glad you asked me, Michael, because like if anybody out there has deals that have a bunch of equity, but maybe the cash offer doesn't work, like this is just a really good solution.
I completely agree. Yeah, coming in, partnering with them, making sure that you can actually reach both of your goals. So that way it's not just like a low ball cash offer and you're using data-driven like decisions and, precision on the numbers to make sure that everybody understands the expectation and it just moves forward at a very, very easy rate and way. So I love that. You're using the engineering mind to make deals happen, which I couldn't even get past coding. I tried to be an electrical engineer in college and I could not get past coding. So my hat's off to you that you got a master's in petroleum engineering, brother.
Yeah, man. Yeah, dude. And I love it. And then I'll give you the last third one, I think is like, it's just been my one of my best modes of raising capital, right? So I worked with all those guys, and this is kind of my passion to this day is helping people in the oil and gas industry. I mean, I work with anybody, right? But like these people I can really speak to because I lived their life where you're stuck in the field, you're missing your family, you're gone all the time, or you're just tired of like it's so volatile, like it's up and down. Like we went through like for like 6 straight years, they cut 10%, like fired 10%. Didn't matter. Like literally 10% was gone each year in the company. One year and it was right during COVID, it was 40% that they laid off, right, in one year. So just going through that and that volatility, I remember having my bosses that had like devoted everything to Shell and did like were just so loyal versus, and that's when I was actually started to be glad that I made the decisions I did, where I was like, I'm not going all in on this W-2. I'm going to diversify and I'm going to look out for myself. Right. And,
Right.
but those guys that didn't do that, they had, even though they were making great money and had been like, I really looked up to them as like mentors of mine. They were scared to death when they were cutting 40% because they're like, what am I going to do if they lay me off? The oil and gas industry is down. Like, what am I going to do, Casey? So that's why my kind of passion has been raising money from these guys and putting them into deals with me, right? Or a lot of them I just want to teach like, hey, here's how you actually go buy a rental property. Or and then the most extreme one is like, hey, you want to do what I do? You want to go fix and flip houses? Well, here's how you underwrite them. Here's how you look for deals. Here's how you manage contractors. Right? But I try to like cover all three ends. Like you want to be super active and do it, then here's the tools. You want to
Mhm.
buy turnkey where it's just a rental property. We do that, and I can make recommendations for people who do that across the country. And the most easy, most like if they want to press the easy button and just start investing in real estate and not have to learn it all, worry about anything, then I just share our fund with them and they're able to come in, be completely passive. I could give them flexibility to where they want to get in and out. If they want to just do like a debt deal and don't want to tie up their money for 5 years, we have that option. Or if they're like, you know what, I'm in it just like you, Casey. I want to get appreciation and write offs, and I want to get the cash flow and I want to get the upside. Then we'll package them up and we'll do like they'll be part of one of our 5 year holds, which is like an
Right.
equity deal.
Yeah, yeah. That's beautiful, man. You got every option laid out, and it kind of segues into the next question I had too, anyway, about Bighorn Capital Fund, which I know you are doing a ton of great things with. So after your initial success with all the creative financing and scaling to hundreds of deals, I know in the beginning, like a couple of years ago before Owners Club, Greg, good old Mr. Greg Rude would be showing us all the deals you're getting locked up left and right. So what were some of the pivotal lessons that you learned, that really were like, oh, okay, now we got to do stuff this way instead of how we're doing it now?
Yeah, man. I would say, yeah, just having access to capital, right? We got really good at finding, I mean, aside from the contractors, which I already kind of hit that part, right? Like you've got to
Right.
be careful. You've got to, I will go there and then I'll come back to that one. But with the contractors, you gotta like if you're fixing and flipping, one of the biggest lessons I've learned, and I had to learn it the hard way, unfortunately, like a lot of people.
Yeah.
But if you learn anything and you want to fix and flip, we try to have two exit strategies on every deal to where if I say I trying to flip this deal and all of a sudden the market changes or the interest rates start going up high again, or who knows, there crazy world wars going on, or oil and gas plummets in your market. Like who knows what's going on? Like I want to have two exits to where I still keep this as a rental property and will it still at least break even? Like if the cash flow is great, but if you it can at least break even, then you've got two exits. Because if you don't, I'm telling you, I've lived it. If you don't do that and it drops, all you could do is drop price until eventually you're just losing, 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 right? Versus hold on. Yeah, you're going to trap some equity and cash into that deal, but hold on to it, right? So two exit strategies, 100% is the biggest one everybody's got to remember.
Yeah, I love that. That it definitely helps too, because then you don't have to just be so focused on, I know we got to find a buyer for this, we got to wholesale it, we got to do this. If you have a way that you could take it down yourself and, like you said, earn all the benefits from it, why wouldn't you? It sounds like a no-brainer, you know? But
Yep.
just people not knowing that you can use OPMs, so other people's money,
Hmm.
to take down deals and not have to use any of your own. Some a lesson we learned hard ourselves. The one Greg's house that we bought, actually, we used our own money on that. Still cash flows for us. Uh, about 1,600 a month, so it pays the overhead of our company. So I feel you, man. I'm right there with you, like trying to use other people's money to get things moving in your business. But go on. If there's anything else, I know you had another point to add on to that, right?
Yeah, I mean, it parlays on what you were just saying, Michael, to where like you gotta be able to raise capital and to use other people's money. Because again, we were finding deals, fixing them up, and renting them out. But that's a very the immediate bottleneck we started to see is capital, right? Like if you're gonna hold it, you can't hold everything, or you can, but it's then it becomes the raising capital game. And I've always just been a buy and hold guy at heart, and it's so to me it's always just so much easier to just let's fix this thing up and rent it out. The renters are a lot less pickier than the buyers, right?
Right.
So I've always loved doing that, but to do it, it's just a capital raising company or concern, right? So that's a big reason why I started Bighorn Capital is it really kind of alleviated that bottleneck. And again, it's a whole nother business in itself. Like some people talk about, hey, I want to raise a fund. That sounds exciting. It's a buzzword, right? But it's like, hey, it's a whole nother job, right?
Yeah.
But if you do it right, now it just makes my business a lot more predictable and allows me to buy and hold. Because man, I've talked to a lot of other mentors and other investors who've been doing this forever, and they're always just like they're always talking about all the deals they sold and like, man, if I would have held that, right? And
Right.
my goal is to be able to put like I'm doing it right now through a fund where I'm bundling up like 7 or 8 properties and we're going to hold it in the fund with people who have more capital that need a return on it. And let's bundle that up. I get to participate actually as a general partner, and they're the limited partners.
Love
And
that.
let's hold it. And then in 5 years, when this thing goes way up, we could sell it and buy something bigger or refinance and keep growing it, right? Because a lot, I don't know, that's how the wealthiest, that's how you build wealth, right? But if you could do it at
Exactly.
scale, that's what I created the fund for. One of the biggest, I mean, the fund can do multiple things. It can actually fund our fix and flips and kind of be like a private money lender. But also, the thing I'm probably most passionate about is, and back to like helping people create passive income, is the fund can go hold these properties and then everyone gets to reap the benefits of buy and hold long term investing.
Yeah, yeah, it's beautiful, man. You got two ways to get things done. If you could get a huge portfolio for the fund and then liquidate the position, and you guys can go buy something bigger, keep moving the process along. So I really like the way that you did that, and it's something that Paul and I are trying to, get started ourselves. That's why we started our capital raising journey not too long ago, raising some money for a few operators right now in actually Texas and Houston, nonetheless for Leuver right now. So it's exciting, We're getting to learn how everything really operates and how to go find it, make it happen. So I'm gonna be giving you some calls, that's for sure, to pick your brain on some of the capital raising stuff. But am I not mistaken, you own 7 Pure Bar franchises? Is that sound something like I'm
Yeah,
correct in?
we not any longer. We did at one
Okay.
point. Yeah. Fortunately,
Okay.
we learned a lot in business, learned a lot about sales and running a
Yeah.
business through
What
those.
got you in? What you got you into those?
Yeah, so yeah, it was really my wife, right? So we were actually living in
Okay.
Billings, Montana at the time, and she was part of this Pure Bar, call it a studio, right? But it was a franchise, and she loved it, right? So when we actually I was working in the field. I'd gotten moved back to West Texas, and I was like, I had an opportunity to actually move there. That way, on my 2 weeks off, I'd be with my family like as planned, right? But by 2 weeks on, I had a cool job in the field where I could drive home every night, so I could actually still see my family and not because it was so hard to go away for 2 weeks, right? And not see
Right.
your kids. So we were moving to Midland and but my wife's like, man, Casey, I want to go. I want to be closer to you. I want us to be together as a family. She's like, but I can't leave Pure Bar. Like I want to have Pure Bar with me. So we're like, all right, well, let's look at the franchise. Maybe we could open one. Because I was always been an entrepreneur and like open to trying things out. So we looked into that, and yeah, we opened one, our first one in Midland, Texas, and it was great. That was the best one still to this day. I wish they were all as good as that one, and maybe we'd still be doing it. But yeah, it was a great market. Because it's geared toward women, and it's just I think it's one of the best workout for, or from, I mean, from what my wife tells me and what I learned about it, it's like low impact, strengthens, sculpts, and it does amazing things. Um, yeah, so we learned that, ran that franchise, and then we ended up actually buying four of them in San Diego at one point, and then we bought two more in Houston. But what we found is once COVID hit and just starting to run this franchise, it was just the one in Midland was great because there was so much demand. We were the only game in town, and but as you started to go into some of these other markets that had a lot more competition, it was a very hard business model to scale. And because we always joked we were always one manager away from quitting from our whole world being on fire, and all of a sudden it not being it just at that point then you have a job you just paid for to
Right.
be a manager, you know.
Right. Wow. That is incredible, man. Like I know you were in the back of the room getting a workout yourself. I know, don't be acting like that.
Oh
You were
yeah,
up in there. No, I'm just playing.
absolutely. Yep.
Oh, that's so cool. So your Mount Everest, does that have the is that point in the oil and gas professional, like helping them transition to real estate? Is that what you're mainly focused on, or what would
Yeah.
you say is your Mount Everest?
Yep. So it is more general to where it's helping 100 families achieve their passive income goal.
Hmm.
And naturally, I'm actually restarting my podcast, which is going to be branded as Rigs to Riches, because I really want to speak to.
Ooh,
Yeah,
that's a good name right there. I'll be tuning into that. That's for sure.
yeah, man. So really want to speak to like oil and gas people and how like bring on different guests that have done it and just really speak to them and how they can kind of get started in doing it. But really my Mount Everest is to help 100, not just people, like it's really about families, right? And because
Right.
I just go back, just really have always wanted to help and relate back to those people who are still working in the field that didn't take action like I did and don't have the flexibility. Because I've got lots of stories on just part of like my like keynote speech of when I'm asked to speak is I talk a lot about like how like pain and just unfortunate scenarios drive change in your life, right? Like some of that for me was being away from my kids and that pain of like not being there for them caused me to work really hard and really push in real estate and create something that gave me options, right? So I want to help other people have the same options I did to where maybe they just want to not some people are just like I don't want to be working this job till I'm
Right.
70, 80 because they see so many people doing that. So A, they want to have an early retirement, or B, they just want to have options because of they don't want to have to like some people are just worried about they've been through layoffs. Like what happens if I get laid off, right? They want to have that kind of off ramp that I was able to build. So anyway, we're doing like starting next year in 2025, and depending on when somebody's listening to this, go to our website and you can actually see when we're scheduling these. But we're doing 2 day workshops where we're actually because you're some people might be asking, okay, how do you help 100 people achieve passive income, right? What does that even mean? What's that number? Well, it's going to be a different number for everybody. So that's why we're going to do these workshops to where we could show them like all the different tools, all the different ways they can create passive income, and then really start to figure out what's the key to them. Like, what is their number? Like, everybody has a different number of how much. Like, what is their monthly expenses? How do they want to live? Do they want to have a lot of extra money to do everything they want to do, or do they want to live much more simply and conservatively? So everybody's
Hmm.
different, but I want to figure
Yeah.
out what that number is, and also every people are different on what do they want, like how active do they want to be? Do they want to be like us and be fixing and flipping and finding deals and doing marketing and running the sales team, right? Not everybody's that, but or do they
Right.
want to be like I mentioned, the turnkey buyer that just buys it fixed up and ready to go, or do they want to be completely passive? So we're kind of going to craft that in those 2 day workshops for, hey, here's your strategy. And then they can walk out of that ready to go with, okay, this is what I need to do now and go execute so I can achieve my passive income goal.
I love that, man. That's really, really, really cool. And we're trying to do similar stuff with veterans, as you know. So that is very inspiring. And for those at home, we're gonna ask a really good question. So that way, instead of, like wondering how you could get started or where would be the best place to go, but before we do that, like, comment, subscribe. Casey's killing it for you guys. You better be writing down what he's saying. I got a bunch of stuff written here. I still got more to write because I'm take notes after these things, man, because I try to make sure I'm paying full attention to you. But if you were to start all over again, same in if you're a veteran or in the oil and gas field, where would you start? Would you go the same route or would you go a different direction?
Yeah, man, that's a good one. I hadn't actually got that question until just about a month ago, and they're like, would you have gone into oil and gas, or would you have done it the other way? But
Mhm.
man, I would not have changed it because it was such a good way to like I just it was a really well-paying industry at the time, and I think anybody who's and if I was going to start again or tell my kids, I would make sure they have something that's going to be well-paying and has good W-2 income because that having that foundation and be able to start buying early, I think is a huge part. But I don't know. I would also encourage like the perfect blend is find something that actually really applies and relates. Whether it's being a lender or maybe it's being in construction. I mean, honestly, with the demand of construction, I probably would tell my kids like go learn how to run a crew and go
Yeah,
learn how to manage construction because if you know that, not many people can be able to manage. Like that's been my kind of like secret sauce or like my secret weapon is like I've done enough of these fix and flips and done a lot of the hard work myself. Not all of it. Again, I didn't work up in the trades, but I did enough to know to not, especially when you're like getting, because if not, you'll get taken advantage of, right?
true.
Contractors, they can smell that when you don't know what you're doing.